Hello, everybody, and welcome to Theory Lesson 1. And in this lesson, we're going to look at the importance of home, of finding home. Home, otherwise known as the tonal center, otherwise known as 1, otherwise known as Do. What do we mean by that? Before we can answer this question, let's go right back to the beginning of time and talk about the difference between noise, sound, and music. I would say this is noise. This is sound. Do, beam, hey. And this is music. Go, go. I'd say this is noise. This is sound. And that is music. What's happening here? Everything that creates sound or noise or music is creating vibrations in the air, and some vibrations are more complex and chaotic than others, and other vibrations are more focused and more easily able to be interpreted as one sound. So by one sound we mean that there's a basic frequency which is much stronger than the others, and that is the quality of sound which we tend to be able to perceive and understand as music. Our ears are incredible. Our ears are capable of perceiving multi-dimensionally the sounds that they're hearing. So proximity, how close is the sound? The direction, using the triangulation of our ears. Where is the sound coming from? The loudness of the sound. The pitch or highness or lowness of the sound. And of course the timbre or tonal quality of the sound. So amazing instruments, these, of perception. And of course one of the primary ways in which we distinguish between sounds is the highness and the lowness, as in ooh. What's happening here? Essentially we're vibrating sound at a speed that varies, and it varies for our human ears between 20 hertz, which is 20 waves per second, and 20,000 hertz, which is 20,000 waves per second. Beneath that is the territory of elephants. Underneath that, above that, is the territory of dogs. So we've got a wide range of the possibility of hearing sounds and perceiving them. So in the same way as scales of numbers, and in particular scales of the electromagnetic spectrum, otherwise known as light, it's quite similar. It's a scale which is just a scale, and any nodes or markers we make in there are quite arbitrary. But there's one interesting difference between this scale and, for example, the scale of visible light, and that is octaves. So somewhere in the history of making sounds, someone realized something which is like, hey, 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 you guys, hey, you guys. Someone else goes, hey, you guys, hey, hey, you guys, hey, hey, you guys, hey. This is basically the history of civilization we're getting into here. Hey, you guys, hey, you guys. And someone worked out, wait a moment, they sound similar. What is that? And we understand that as octaves. So, Mary had a little lamb, Mary had a little lamb. Do you perceive those to be the same but different? the same but lower, the same but higher? If so, I think you're like most people, and you're perceiving what we understand to be octaves, which is something which is not found in common with light. So let's say you have this Mary had, that note there, Mary had. It's not just an accident that those notes sound similar to each other, because the frequencies of these vibrations are related to each other. This note is about 100, ba. This note's about 200, ba. This note is about 400, ba. Not only are they related, but when you play one note, for example this note, because of the way that every known sound source operates, you're actually setting off all the multiples as well, which includes primarily and first of all of the octaves. So that's what an octave is. An octave is a note that sounds the same as another note but higher or lower. Think of a glass spiral tower, a round tower made out of glass with a spiral ramp that goes around just inside the window that you can walk up at your leisure and view the world, which we might say is the city of Paris. As you're walking around, you come to a certain point and you go like, I've seen this view before. This is the point where I'm looking straight at the Eiffel Tower. And a minute or two goes past and you're up another level and you're looking straight at the Eiffel Tower again. Now, you could take that just on face value and go, that's great, I can see the Eiffel Tower twice. But the interesting thing about it is what you need to know, and what would be really useful to know, is where you are in the world. And what you're doing unconsciously without even realizing it is you're going, I'm at the Eiffel Tower point again. I'm at the Eiffel Tower point again. And another name for that will be something like north. So I can see where I am. I have a sense now of my orientation, which not only orientates me for that particular landmark, but every other landmark in relation to it. So you suddenly have a map which places not only everything, but you in relation to everything. And that is essentially the best analogy I can find for why it's important to find home, aka one, aka the tonal center. So we can ask again, what is home? And I think it's important to say that home is something which we just decide to be home, in the same way that we decide that red, that thing, that color is called red, we call it red. So home has a kind of an arbitrary nature to it. It's a way of dividing up music so that music makes sense. What isn't arbitrary is the relationship between notes, so that if you choose this to be home, then all of these will be octaves of home. Octaves are universal in all musics that I know of in the world made by human beings. And that's because they're very obvious, and also because they're grounded in the physical world. So then you've got something that you call home. And to create music, I guess what you end up doing is you need to make smaller subdivisions. And there's different ways to do that. One way is you can really meditate on that home place. Let's say it's, and this is kind of the Indian approach, and this just is always there. That is repeated over the various octaves, which sound the same but higher. The second approach is you can say, you know what, we're going to divide it into a bunch of notes that sound nice together. And that's quite often 5. Reason it's 5 is that you can play any of those notes with any of the others and they sound good. Hence, pentatonic music. If you're jamming with a kid on the piano, play some stuff in the left hand and tell them to play just the black notes. You may recognize this from a lot of world music, like Chinese, gamelan music, a fair number of African traditions. Pentatonic. Or you can make the choice that is largely the choice of Western music, which is that we kind of like the idea of 7. Maybe 7 because 7's an important number in kind of mythology and all those kinds of things. But also there's a certain kind of logic to 7, and I'll just try to explain it to you. It's worth kind of pointing out that all subdivisions of this possible space between 2 octaves are not equal. All of the points are not equal. Some points are more equal than others. I'll try to explain that with this. I'm hoping you can hear that a little bit in my voice. I hope you heard that. That's harmonic singing. Check out some harmonic singing online. What's happening in harmonic singing? All you're doing is emphasizing the multiples of the note that you're singing at the bottom. So as we said before, this was 100. That's 200. That's 300, 400, and 500. The only reason I'm saying that to you is to point out that the first note that comes up that's not an octave is the note that we call the 5th, which is 1.5 times the frequency. The next one is another octave, and then you have this note. Hence the attractiveness of that chord, which is the major chord, which is a choice we make a lot of the time in Western music and in a lot of other musics in the world as well. It's worth noting that in almost all of the scales used anywhere, that number 5 is always there, and very often the 3 is there as well. And now we just got to add in a couple more notes. And make it up to 7. There's no particular reason for 7 except that, you know, maybe it's just not too few and not too many to make things feel nice. So, yeah. So, home. So home is, therefore, the point on the compass, if you like, speaking in terms of the Parisian city, or the point in the musical scale where you decide to refer everything to. And once you do that, the note, or whatever it is that you choose to sing, has a meaning in reference to your home note, which is different to, say, you don't know what that is, but this, you know what it is. So what it's doing, what home is doing, is it's suggesting the whole tonality of the piece, a tonality being a thing that we seem to like the feeling of. Not only because it gives us somewhere to feel safe and comfortable, but it also gives us somewhere to depart from and return to by varying degrees. So the home is going to suggest for you, the home is shown by the chord. It suggests that the tonal center, which is the place from which all of these notes derive, and it gives you the context by which everything else is understood. So, just to make it clear, that scale is derived from home, and that chord is also derived from home. So home is both one note and also a whole lot of other notes that are implied by that one note. Just to give you a final couple of demonstrations, take these three notes. A little lamb Mary had. What is that? It might not be what you think it is. It might be Mary had a little lamb. It might be there. Mary had a little lamb. It might be here. Mary had a little lamb. Might be actually more like little lamb. So context is everything. Finding home is very important. To finish, just see how you go with finding three homes. Hey Jude. Can you sing the note of home? Ba. What about twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are? Could it be? What about somewhere over the rainbow, skies are blue? It is ba. I hope you've enjoyed this introduction to theory, which is also going to serve as a kind of a booster shot for people doing singlet theory number 1. We're going to follow up in the next session with how to find home. Thank you for watching, and good day to you.